What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today, yes, we are doing some maintenance because obviously, guys, we got a ton of stuff to do in the shop, but we have daily drivers and daily drivers need maintenance, and that is what we are going to be tackling today, along with some questions to you guys on what your thoughts are. But first, we are going to be doing some oil changes on not only my daily driver, so the GMC Sierra that you see out there, the Sierra Denali, but my wife's Yukon as well, which isn't here. It's gonna be nice and hot. Hopefully that oil runs out quickly. But guys, the very first thing we need to do, let's get this in and we'll talk about some of the questions that I have for you, and then kind of my process of doing an oil change. Now, I know what people are probably thinking, man, wouldn't it be nice to do an oil change on a lift? It sure would. However, I don't know if you guys noticed the camber on the front of the Trans Am, but it is incredibly hard to get on and off that. And so I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing the old school on the ground method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the truck, the keys to the truck and whatnot, and I'm going to get my race ramps, which are over there in the corner. Those things come in super handy. We're going to get it right about here, and we are going to get the oil change started. So let's get that done right now. So as you can see, we got this nasty, dirty thing in here. Guys, I know, look, when you daily drive one and you go 70 miles a day, you got bugs, you got dirt, just is what it is. But we've got the hood open. We got it up on the race ramps, which generally give me just enough room to slide under lowered stuff, guys, to get back where I need to get, which we'll show you here in just a second. But here's the question that I ask. All right, so these newer motors, the newer LT stuff, so this is a 6.2 liter LT engine. Of course, my wife's Yukon is a 5.3 because it is a SLT. It is not a Denali. Believe me, she reminds me that we got rid of a Denali to get a not Denali. I don't know, but she likes the fold out steps. Either way, 020 oil. What do you think about it, right? So I've seen some mixed, first of all, this isn't enough, but I've seen some mixed ideas on what you should put in these, right? Look, it's going to tell you, look, GM did a better job on this one. Check this out. See that neck? On the Denali we had before, it just had the cap on the valve cover. But look, it calls for the Dexos oil, right? So the GM Gen 3 oil, I don't know about that. That's not that as big a concern as what if a guy went to 530 or even 1030? You know, I've seen a lot of people say that because this oil is like pouring water, and it is, guys, it's very, very thin. Would that help with the fact that these carbon up so bad? So on the direct injection engines, guys, they're a little bit different than the LS based engines. Very close to the same, like structure wise and the look of them. But on a direct injection engine, the fuel injector is mounted directly into the cylinder, right? So instead of spraying like the LS does on the backside of the intake valve, you don't have that fuel constantly going through there cleaning stuff off. And so because the oil is so thin and, you know, kind of turns into vapor relatively easy, these things carbon up. And some of these, I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of like even a 5,000 mile one has so much carbon in it. So a lot of people combat that by putting a catch can in. And guys, I really think that is something you're going to see on the channel very soon, is me put a catch can on at least this one. I don't know about my wife since we're probably not going to keep it long term. But this one, I really like this truck. And so a catch can would help. But what do you guys think about switching to a 530 oil? I'm kind of back and forth. For now, we're going to do 020, which is what it calls for. And guys, you're going to need, I think it's about 8 quarts to do this change, which sucks because they come in 5-quart containers. I will list this stuff in the description. So tell me what you think on that. Guys, filters, you've seen me use them many times on this channel. I am a Wix guy. I trust their product. It's a good product. I have the Wix XP and the Wix Standard. So I'm putting the Wix XP on this truck. The poor wife's daily driver is going to get the cheapy filter. I still don't think that, you know, necessarily one's that much better than the other. But since this one is a 6.2, I don't know, in my mind I use the XP on it. They're the exact same for the most part. I couldn't even tell you the difference. It says this one's designed for synthetics. I think this one is as well. So let me know in the description if you know the difference between the XP. I know I'm not a very good spokesman for Wix, but other than I use all their products, but I don't know the difference between the two. Either way, guys, what we need to do is we need to get under this thing. I've got my oil container somewhere. We'll slide it under there. We'll take a look at what we need to accomplish next. Okay, a little bit of a change up. Guys, the race ramps just didn't get me quite high enough to show you the stuff that I wanted to show you, but you're gonna need a couple things. I've got a 15mm right here. You guys need a way to get your filter off unless it's like super loose. I tend to use this one the most. This one only fits certain filters. Actually, it's not even the right size for that one, so I couldn't use it anyway. This guy is kind of self-adjusting as you swing it around, which we'll show you here in a minute. But let's get under there and get the plug loose. See if I can show you guys. I've got 2 jacks under it, 2 jack stands. Guys, look, you can do it with 1 jack and 2 jack stands. Definitely use the jack stands. That will keep you safe. Let's go get the oil pan and get it underneath and show you what we're doing. Once you're under here, guys, if you get all the way back here to where the sway bar mounts, you can see our plug. And it is a different design than like the older LS stuff that was on the side. It's more on the bottom, which is nice because you get more of the old oil out. And then check it out. GM's gotten a little smarter at putting the filter close to, so you can get both off and make, you know, kind of one mess, as opposed to, you know, used to it would be on one side, the filter's on the other, so you'd have to wait until your oil was drained out to get the filter off. So we're gonna get our 15 up there and loosen this guy up and start this oil draining. Now you can see, because of stuff's like water, I literally just took this out, turned the camera back on, and look how quick it drained. We are almost completely out. So I'm gonna grab my filter wrench, get up there, and you can come on the back side of the sway bar there so you can get above the sway bar, loosen it up, and let's get that thing dropped out of the way. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I know it drains out relatively quickly and it was pretty warm, so it went even quicker. I like to let it drip until, you know, it's almost non-existent. Like to get all the old stuff out of there. Guys, look, here's one thing you need to check. There's a couple things you need to check, and we'll show you the other underneath here in a second. But look at your grommet here, right? Does it have anything left? Mine does. I actually replaced this in the last one, I believe, this little seal. Because you can buy the seal or you can buy the whole thing. So the seal is still good. So I'm gonna be reusing this, but make sure if that thing's all flattened out, it's not gonna seal very good and you need to replace it. I'll try to list the replacement down below in the description, but I'm gonna put this thing back in just a second and I'll show you the other thing you need to check for. Here's the next thing we wanna check. You see this little rubber ring on the top of the filter? We need to make dang sure that that came off with the old one. Now generally, guys, it's covered in oil, so what'll happen is you won't be able to tell on the filter itself. What you're gonna have to do is get up in here and look at where the filter was at. Okay, so you see that area right there? Hopefully I don't drip oil on the camera. Another thing I like to do is I like to take a rag. Okay, so I've got a microfiber here. You can use shop towels, microfiber, whatever. And I like to wipe that mating surface off really well. And look, we're gonna get this towel dirty. Generally I have some of these that I've used on, you know, interior parts that are gross that I just wanna get rid of. So we wanna clean that, and we wanna also at the same time make sure there is not a rubber seal there, because if we put it back in place, we're gonna have some issues. All right, see, we're still dripping, so I'm gonna give it a little bit longer, but while I'm waiting on that, I can go ahead and pre-fill the filter. So I like to fill this full, and then I like to stick my finger in some of that oil and kind of soften up this gasket before we put it into place. So you can see I poured oil in it, and I just left it in the box so it'd stay up straight. And so I'm using some of that oil on this, and this is a practice I've used on every oil change for the last, as long as I've been doing them. It's always a good idea. All right, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and put this in place. Guys, look, I do use the wrench to put it on, okay? But you don't have to over tighten this. I wanna say it's like 18 foot-pounds is the torque specs on this. If you want to get crazy and get the actual one that fits it. But you don't need that, but you don't need to over tighten it, but you don't want it loose either. So a lot of times your hands are oily, you can't get a good snug fit on it by hand, and so that's why I use the wrench to go back on with it. Once we have the filter tightened up, you'll see that I've went ahead and started the plug. Guys, I like to start this by hand. You do not want to cross thread this. Same situation here when it goes to tightening this, guys. I believe it's 18 foot-pounds. Don't get crazy. You don't have to snug this down with an impact. In fact, don't leave your impact over on the bench. Don't use it to take it in or out, because I've seen it strip both ways. I've seen people strip them taking them out with an impact, and I've seen people stripping them putting them in with an impact, and you do not want that stripped. All right, so now that we are finished on the bottom here, guys, I am gonna go ahead and set this thing down, and we're gonna go back to the top. Now that we've got it on the ground, guys, look, some people take this cap off to help it drain quicker. As thin as this oil is, you really don't need to do that. But you can see I've got, unless you're the world's greatest pourer, I am not. We need a funnel. I've got that there. Now these trucks, the 6.2s call, and I think the 5.3s are the same. We'll have to check here in a minute when we go to this Yukon. But they call for 8 quarts. So where I like to start is, look, I've got, what, 1, 2, 3.5 quarts. I poured about a half quart in the filter, probably not quite half a quart. So I'm gonna pour a whole one in. I'm gonna pour 7 quarts in, and then I'm gonna check it, all right? And if it's close to full, we'll start it up and go from there. You don't wanna overfill, right? It's really hard to get oil out. It's very easy to put it in. So let's grab a full container. We'll pour it in first. And I'm using, like you saw earlier, Mobil 1 020. Like I said, let me know if you guys use something different. Let's go ahead and pour that in. So as I said, we've poured 7.5 quarts in is what we've poured in. You can see the dipstick tubes on the other side. Guys, do not throw that away. We'll talk about that in a second. But let's pull this thing out and check it and see where we're at. Now you'll notice on these newer trucks, it's very, very hard to check, but we are showing full. So since the filter's full, we shouldn't flush a bunch out, but what I'm going to do is I'm gonna go start it real quick. Before I do that, I am gonna pull that out, put the plug or the cap back on. I'm gonna put this back in, and let's go start it. What I normally do is find a spot where I can put a towel under this, because we may need it again. Let's get in this thing and start it up. Let it run for a second. You'll watch the oil pressure gauge. It'll be at 0 for a second, which is kind of scary. We got nothing, we got nothing, we got nothing. Of course, it's not registering any of it yet. All right, got good oil pressure. While we're in here, guys, I'll tell you what we can do. Let's go here to dismiss. See the change oil soon. Dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. Don't look at my ride error. We're still working on that. All right, we're gonna go back to the info screen. We're gonna go down to oil life. I'm using the little wheel here. Did I just pass it? All right, let's get to it. Oil life 5%. So we're gonna hold this center button down, the little wheel, and it should reset to 100% or 99 sometimes. There we go. All right, let's shut it off and let's go check it. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but we are a little on the low side. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna pour another half quart in it. We'll check it again. And I'd say by that time we should be good. So yes, just another half quart. So guys, it did take 8 quarts, but like I said, I generally, because you never know, you know, the truck was up at an angle, although the drain is in a better spot on these newer trucks. I still go to 7.5, maybe 7 3/4, because like I said, it's easier to put it in than it is to take it out. So this could be a process of going back and forth if you want to start it again and check. But normally, guys, one start that fills that filter the rest of the way up, circulates through the motor, and then you get an accurate reading. So we are finished with this one. So I think the plan is, oh, I tell you what, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the old container. So why do we keep the old container? Well, guys, this is why. Make a big mess here. But we keep this to put the old oil into. And I don't know if you guys have maybe a stove that burns this. If you do, awesome. I don't. I wish I did sometimes. But it makes it really easy and a spot to put the old stuff in order to take to your like local parts store. Because my local parts store, which happens to be not far from me, takes old oil. And so instead of, like used to, I've got a 5-gallon bucket, and I would fill that bucket up, take it and dump it, and then I'd have to wait to dump it and then get it back. It's got oil all over it. I got to bring it back home. This way I can just take this in, drop it off. They take it, they take the container, they dispose of the container. They obviously dispose of the oil, and don't overfill. I've done that before. That is not fun. And gives you a good spot to put the old oil. So we're gonna switch over to this one, cap this one off and put it outside. and take it to the parts store next time. So now we got that done, let's get the Yukon in here and get started on it. So on to the next, and guys, I know I'm not doing much better job here keeping this one clean, I get it. It takes me a whole day to clean both of them. Anyway, let's talk about the differences, right? So that's a 6.2 we just pulled out. This is a 5.3 which we pulled in, and you can see what I'm talking about. The old school design has no neck. It makes it really hard to pour oil in. You have to hold the funnel while you're pouring. Get a little more room. This is a little more open, but let's get underneath. And I believe, guys, we still should be a 15 millimeter. I think this one is ridiculously hot. My wife just got back from driving it. Probably not the greatest idea to change it right now, but this is the time I want to do it. So let's get under here and see if there's any differences as far as the placement, and I doubt there is. All right, you can see it's a little bit different as far as the pan design, but the plug is still in the same spot, and so is the filter. So let's do the exact same thing. Guys, be careful. So one thing you'll notice is the plug's a little longer in the 5.3. These are the same year, but this is considered the older body style, right? They didn't come out with the new body style in the Yukon until 2021. But they're both 2020s. This one, like I said, the plug's a little longer. I don't know if they changed that, but still inspect the seal. So no different than the other one. Make sure that your rubber sleeve is not remaining on the engine. And then I'm gonna go ahead and top this off with oil and get this ring softened up with a little oil, and then we'll go back together. This one drained really fast because it was hot. Just like I did on the other one, guys, I used my filter wrench to get that snug, just so we have, you know, like I said, I got oil all over my hands, so I use it to snug it up, making sure there's no ring on there. I did wipe the surface off like I did on the other one. And then we've got this snugged up as well. Like I said, 18 foot-pounds, I believe, on both these. So no sense in getting crazy, no impacts. So now we are finished under here. Let's go see what the capacity is. I think it's the same, but I'll have to double check. Well, guys, actually, it is the same. I thought it might be. The only downside is, like I said, I hate this filling position. There's no good way to, see what I'm talking about? You have to kind of hold it in place like this as you're filling it. So that's the downside. GM did improve on that, obviously, in the newer models. I don't know if the new Yukons have that, but either way, we're gonna pour 7.5 quarts in it just like we did before. We're gonna start it up, check it, and we'll show you how to reset this one on the inside as well. So we have our 7.5 in, we have our plug back in, got our little spot here to keep that with a towel under it. Let's go start this thing up and see exactly. This one's very similar as far as resetting. It's just a little bit different on the remote here. Notice we have no oil pressure. Okay, now we do. All right, it's already on oil. So if it's, you go to the info screen with your side to side and up and down, click on the check mark, then you're gonna scroll until you get to oil, which we are already on. Right, so it says 26%, guys, but I know we're at about 5,000 miles. We're gonna hold down the check mark. It should reset. There we go. All right, we're gonna shut it off now, and we're gonna go double check our oil. Chances are we'll probably need another quart. Now this dipstick is different. If you notice, it's on this side, and it's one of those curly ones. All right, see that? We'll pull this guy out, we'll wipe it off, we'll stick it back in and double check it. So just like the other one, we are about 1/2 quart low. So guys, I think a lot of this, you know, I'm used to doing this because in the older days, well, I say in the older days, normally you don't use 020 oil, which is like water. Well, a majority of it runs out. So I think that's what I'm used to, is a lot of times on your thicker oils, they'll stay in. And that's why I'm so used to running it about 1/2 quart low, just so I'm not overfilling. So either way, we're gonna top this off with 1/2 quart, and I think we'll be about finished. Well, guys, it did indeed take another 1/2 quart. Like, look, like I said, I'm used to shorting it and then putting more in as needed. But we got some maintenance done. I still got to pour the old oil into there. And guys, generally what I do with my old filters, I have a oil change deal for my lift. You can see the telescoping deal. What I do is I set my filters upside down on that, let them drain for a couple days, and then I toss them. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video as far as like oil changes. I know it's not real super elaborate, but guys, it's stuff that we have to do on our daily drivers to keep them rolling. Shoot, most of the time I probably sell one before it needs an oil change, as you guys have probably noticed on this channel. But either way, got some good maintenance done today. Showed you guys kind of what oil I use. Like I said, if you guys are thinking maybe we should switch to a 530 or a 1030, let me know in the comments. I don't know. I'm kind of back and forth on that. I don't like how thin that oil is. It's literally like water. But anyway, guys, like I said, hopefully you did enjoy that video. So go down there and smash that thumbs up button. Cam, what else do they need to do?
Subscribe and hit that bell notification and stay tuned to see what we work on next.
He's getting it down, guys. Stay tuned to see what we work on next.